So, interesting article here on the F1 Chronicle saying that Insecurities cost Lando Norris the 2024 F1 title. Now, I can think to a few different moments that have probably cost Lando Norris the title in 24, but let's have a look at what this is going into, see if it's referencing anything specific about him, about any kind of moments this season or not. So, let's go into this, guys. So, the head-to-head for the 2024 Drivers' World Championship highlighted the psychological gap between Max Verstappen and Lando Norris. Christian Danner, a former F1 driver who is now a well-known German-language pundit, said Verstappen took the opportunity to deal incredible psychological blows in the last lap of his victory from P17 on the grid at Interlagos. He said, and I quote, "At the end of the race, when he was already in the lead, he did one fastest lap after another," Danner told Service TV. In doing so, he's dealing incredible blows to all the others. That message was, why are you even bothering? In addition to his insane performance, he is just incredibly stable. It's clear that he is strong, but he is also mentally very strong and cannot be shaken. Well, maybe at the moment, I think earlier in the season, he was very much shaken, but we'll get into that at the end of this. In contrast, as he went head-to-head for the title against his friend Verstappen, Norris detailed in 2024 how nervous he gets before races, while he's also struggled to make good race starts and avoid driving errors. Danner says Norris made multiple characteristic mistakes from pole in Brazil. It's no wonder he has no self-confidence anymore. There is only one way to overcome your insecurities as a driver, and that's to be successful. Very true. And once you're really under the spotlight, you can quickly break mentally. I'm curious to see how he deals with it from now on. As soon as he wins again, everything will be fine, but he makes too many mistakes. Danner said that even when the race at Interlagos started in wet conditions and Verstappen was P17 on the grid and facing major potential points to lose to Norris, that he made a difference by staying calm. Yes, I'm far behind, but I know what I'm doing. That's what it's all about. That's what characterizes the absolute greats, Matt added. Fellow former F1 driver Christian Albers also sees the stark psychological difference between Verstappen and Norris. Drivers like Lando Norris make far too many mistakes, the Dutchman told the Telegraph. He also got irritated in the interviews when, of course, the questions are going to be about the World Championship. Albers also sees the respective contrast between Verstappen and Norris reflected in their teams. At McLaren, they've kind of just thrown it away, he said. Things can turn around very quickly in F1, and Verstappen has completely turned it around. The pressure was on, and then Norris and Oscar failed because they are not consistent. I miss the fighting spirit and aggression at McLaren. You don't see it in them, but you do see it at Red Bull. Well, you do see it at Max Verstappen at least. I'm not sure about the whole of Red Bull, to be perfectly honest, because Sergio Perez is a different kind of driver at the moment, really. I do see what they're saying, though. I do see what they're saying. I mean, there's been moments where Max Verstappen has felt pressure. You know, I think even the biggest Max Verstappen fans will have to admit that. You know, Hungary in particular was a really bad one. He had a really bad weekend that weekend, and whatever the reasons for his outbursts on the radio, the fact remains that he very much lost his cool, and he ended up getting in an incident with Lewis Hamilton that could have easily been avoided, that was unnecessary. I think they were only going for P3, something like that. So there is that. But overall, when the chips were down, when it came time to produce, Max Verstappen absolutely produced. You know, he hadn't won a race in 10 races before Brazil. He started 17th on the grid, and he won. One of the lowest down starting victories ever in the history of Formula 1. And yeah, Norris was, honestly, I'd describe him as toothless, really, in that race. You know, it's one thing to lose the start, and why he lost the start isn't exactly clear. You know, he seemed to get a good getaway off the line, but then George Russell in the second phase of the start, once they shifted up through second, third, fourth gear, going into turn one, Russell seemed to get a much better start after that. And that could be down to the car. There have been issues with that, apparently. I haven't seen it as much recently, but maybe it was exasperated a bit in the wet. Maybe it was a mistake from Norris. Maybe he just didn't do as good a start as what he should have done. It's hard to say without actually speaking to him about it. But he really should have overtaken Russell way before that. Norris was clearly the faster guy. He was on Russell throughout the entire race pretty much, and he never got past him. The only point where he actually got past him was when it was getting extremely wet. And to be fair, it did a very good opportunistic kind of move around the outside of turn 3. Yeah, it's turn 3, the last bit of the Centre S. And that was a good move, but that move should have been done about 20 laps prior. Had Norris done that, he would have been, maybe 10-15 seconds down the road. If he does that, when he does stop for a new set of intermediate tyres or the new set of the wet tyres before the safety car gets called, or maybe he doesn't feel the need to stop for new tyres at that point, and he could well have won the race. Or he might have finished second. Max Verstappen might still have stormed through the field. You know, that could have happened. But we'll never know, because the biggest problem for Norris in that race is that he just didn't overtake George Russell. And then at the restart, he ended up making a mistake and Russell got past anyway, and Russell finished ahead of him. So, really poor performance by Norris. Those are the kind of moments when, you know, the greats do great, the good get going, and unfortunately the weak, in this case Norris, don't do particularly well. And, you know, I applaud him in a sense for taking this championship battle as long as he did. I applaud him for speaking his mind, being open about his kind of feelings, his struggles, you know, his nerves, his anxiety, his depression, things like that. You know, I applaud him absolutely for doing that. And I've done a video already going over that if you want to check it out, when those comments kind of resurfaced after a year or two for some reason. I'm not sure why they came back up, but they did. But what I do not applaud him for is just some of the comments that he made after the Brazilian Grand Prix, saying that Verstappen's win was all about luck. No, absolutely no chance. There's no luck about finishing that race. 69 laps technically, nice, around Interlagos. You know, there's no luck about even finishing that, let alone coming from pretty much last to first. That takes an unbelievable amount of skill. And dare I say it, more skill than what Lando Norris has right now. I don't think that's a very bold kind of call to give, really, to be honest. I really don't. But yeah, what do you guys think? Why did Lando Norris lose the 2024 championship? Is it as simple as Red Bull getting off to a much better start this season and just carrying it through? Because you look at the championship gap, it is now about the same as what it was after Miami. You know, it's not really it's gone up and down, but overall right now it's about the same as what it was at that point when Norris started to win, when Red Bull started to lose some pace. So for me, there's a lot of factors coming into it, but Norris absolutely has to take some blame for this. His team does too, but so does he. But let us know your thoughts in the comments below, guys, and of course for much more news and opinions on the world of Formula 1, do keep it tuned here to the F1Chronicle.com. Like, share, comment, subscribe, ring the bell as well, and we'll see you very soon. Have a good one.